Modern societies are pretty much in agreement on this score. Having children is one of the most meaningful and delightful moves that anyone can make. Couples who don't, for whatever reason, have children tend to be automatically, almost universally, pitied and are assumed to have been denied the chance to have offspring by biology. That one might freely choose not to have children and yet be reasonably content with one's choice. That remains one of the most disturbing and unfathomed of all modern positions. The basic dynamics of whether or not to have children follow the very same pattern that we see across a range of other so-called great choices in emotional life. Whether or not to get married, whether or not to stay faithful, whether to follow the path of reason or the calls of the heart. We observe a very strong desire to try to identify the right choice, accompanied by a frighteningly utopian belief that once this choice has been located, we're going to be able to flourish and find complete peace and happiness. But the reality is, of course, very different, much darker, but also more interesting. The large dilemmas of emotional life have no answer, in the sense of a response that doesn't, somewhere along the line, entail a great loss and an element of extraordinary sacrifice. Whatever we choose will, in a sense, be a bit wrong, and leave us regretting some features of the choices we didn't make. There is no such thing as a cost-free choice, a line of argument which continues, oddly, to create surprise in contemporary life. Making a good choice simply involves focusing on what variety of suffering we're best suited to, rather than aiming with some sort of utopian zeal to try to avoid grief and regret altogether. Consider, for example, the varieties of suffering that are on offer on both sides of the faithful-unfaithful ledger. Both options will, at moments, be very miserable. So, when weighing up how to lead our lives, we should work on knowing as much as possible about our specific taste in misery. Let's look at a table. Monogamy, the misery. Well, a sense of confinement, a correct impression that life is elsewhere, irritability, narrow horizons, sexual abandonment. What about on the other side? Multiple partners. What will be the misery there? There'll be chaos, angry exes, loneliness long-term, damaged children, guilt. The very same kind of trade-offs exist over the question of children. No honest experience of parenting is complete without an intermittent, very strong impression that in some ways children are both the meaning of one's life and the cause of the ruin of one's life. On the one hand, children, the misery, disappointment with oneself as a parent, disappointment with how they turn out, guilt, exhaustion, lost opportunity, a sense of perpetuating human suffering, the house sticky everywhere. What about with no children? What's the misery there? Society's constant message that one's missed out, loneliness and boredom, a lack of constant distraction and calls on one's time, and a sentimental longing for comfort of children by the time one reaches the nursing home. The insight that all choices are, in a sense, a bit hellish was best expressed by the early 19th century Danish existential philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, who summed up our options in a playful but bleakly realistic and exasperated outburst in his masterpiece Either Or. Marry and you will regret it. Don't marry, you will also regret it. Marry or don't marry, you will regret it either way. Laugh at the world's foolishness. You'll regret it. Weep over it. You'll regret that too. Laugh at the world's foolishness or weep over it. You'll regret both. Believe a woman. You'll regret it. Believe her not. You'll also regret it. Hang yourself. You'll regret it. Don't hang yourself. You'll regret that too. Hang yourself or don't hang yourself. You'll regret it either way. Whether you hang yourself or don't hang yourself, you'll regret both. This, gentlemen, is the essence of all philosophy. We deserve pity, as does everyone else. We're going to make disastrous decisions, we'll form mistaken relationships, we'll embark on misguided careers, we'll invest our savings foolishly, we'll spend years on friendships with unreliable idiots, and we'll get it mostly wrong around children. But we can be consoled by a bitter truth. There aren't painless options, because the conditions of existence are intrinsically rather than accidentally frustrating. We can't get through the tunnel of life without a mauling. For those of us contemplating whether or not to have children, the message is dark but consoling in its bleakness. You will be at points very unhappy, whatever you choose. With either option, you will feel that you've ruined your life, and you'll be correct. We don't need to add to our misery by insisting that there would have been another, better, cost-free way. There is, curiously, relief to be found in the knowledge of the inevitability of suffering. It is, in the end, never darkness that dooms us, but the wrong sort of hope in that most cruel of fantasies, the right choice.
The joys and sorrows of parenting promises us a gentle way of staying calm around one of the most arduous yet deeply fulfilling jobs in the world.